If you see anything like that, like green stuff starting to develop in the substrate, that's it. You know, you're kind of beat. You're just gonna have to start from scratch. That's how it goes. What's up, guys? This is Travis coming at you from Cultivate and cultivatecolorado.com here in Denver. Today we're going to be talking about the Mini Boomer Mushroom Grow Kit from Monster Mushroom Company that we carry here in the store. If you've seen some of our other videos, you might have seen us cover the other products that you see here, like the all-in-one grow bag or substrate and grain. They also have a large grow kit that we reviewed in another video, so make sure to check that out if you want something that's a little bit bigger than this. But somebody who's maybe just getting their feet wet and growing mushrooms at home and they want a little bit more space than the all-in-one grow bag, but don't want a giant tub that's gonna take up a lot of room, this is perfect. To start, let's just go over everything that comes in the Mini Boomer kit, and then we'll go over how to actually use it. So first thing you're gonna notice is there's 2 tubs and not just one. We're gonna get into that in a minute, so just keep that in mind. It's supposed to be there. But it's gonna come with the Super Shroom substrate. That's gonna be a 5-pound bag. The Super Spawn grain bag, that's gonna be 1 pound. Your kit may include some Colorado gourmet oyster mushrooms. Sometimes it doesn't include spores. It just depends what our distributor gives us. It's also going to include a spray bottle. You're gonna use this for misting the sides of your tubs and keeping everything hydrated throughout the process. And here is a hygrometer / temperature gauge that you can put in your tub while it's growing. That way you can monitor humidity and temperature. And then you get a cool sticker, instructions, and this is the clean pack that's gonna include gloves, face masks, and alcohol prep pads. One of the most important things, which you've definitely heard our friend Mike talk about in the other mushroom videos, is if you're not gonna be sterile, none of this is gonna work out. Mushrooms require an extremely sterile environment compared to other indoor plants or gardens.
It's clean, it's gotta be clean.
So you wanna make sure that everything is as clean as possible. Even if you think you're being a little overboard with how sterile everything is, you're probably just about right. You wanna make sure that everything is as clean as it can possibly be so there's no risk of contamination and you don't wanna throw out, you know, your mushrooms halfway through. So now that we've gone through everything that comes in it, which you can see isn't that much, but it is all you need to grow mushrooms. So let's just go over how you're gonna use the Mini Boomer Grow Kit. All right. So first things first is you're going to want to open this clean pack and use the alcohol prep pads. You're going to want to wear gloves. If you want to wear the face mask, do that as well. And you're going to want to wipe down the insides of the tub. You might as well do the outside as well. Make sure you get the lid. And at first, you're just gonna need 1 tub. The second tub's gonna come in later, and I'll tell you what that's for right now. So what's gonna happen is after you start colonizing, you're gonna have extra room to fruit by taking this and putting it on top like that, as opposed to just having the 1 tub with the lid on. So you basically double your space and you give the mushrooms more breathing room, more environment to grow in.
Wow, look at all this space.
That'll come in later. The first thing you're gonna do is take your grain bag. This is the 1 pound Super Spawn grain bag. You're gonna wanna unroll it, and right on the back here, if you can see, is this little gray square. That is a self-healing injection port. So you can put the needle for your syringe through here when you inject your spores, and it'll seal back up on its own, so you don't have to worry about anything else getting in there. But before you do that, you're gonna wanna use some of the alcohol prep pads and wipe that down. And you might as well wipe down the whole bag as well. And then you wanna break up the grain just a little bit. You don't need it to be super loose, but you wanna make sure that it's not just all clumped together. And once you do that, then you can take your spore syringe, and that comes with a needle in there. What you wanna make sure to do is take a lighter, and you're gonna flame sterilize the needle before you inject it into the grain bag. Doing this, just make sure that there isn't anything on the needle when you're going in. Like we said, you want to avoid contamination at all costs, and it might seem, for lack of a better word, kind of anal to be so clean in all this, but if you don't want to make mistakes and have to start from scratch, you're going to want to make sure everything is sterile.
Just trust me.
So even though the needle comes pre-packaged and everything like that, and it is sterile, you just want to be
Double sure.
So flame sterilize the needle. Make sure you don't get too close to the plastic part that attaches the needle to the syringe, because that can melt down and then you can trap the spores in the syringe. You won't be able to get them out, and nobody wants that. So once it's all sterilized, you flame heat the syringe for maybe like 10 seconds till it starts to get a little red hot, and then just let it sit for a minute to cool down. Then you're gonna inject it right into the self-healing port here, and you're basically just gonna let it sit for 7 to 10 days, and that's when you should initially start to see some colonization. When that happens, what you're looking for is basically like a white coat that's gonna start to cover the grains. That's gonna go for about a month, 4 weeks. At that point, the grain is gonna be maybe like 3/4 covered in the white mycelium. And once that happens, you wanna break it up even more. If you can get it into like individual grains, that's even better, but a lot of it's gonna be stuck together from the mycelium, so that's okay.
But do your best.
And then you're going to take substrate and you're going to put that into your first tub, right? Then you're gonna take your mycelium covered grain and you're gonna empty the bag into the substrate, and then you wanna mix that all around so it's nice and even. Once that happens, you wanna make sure that it is completely flat on the inside. You don't wanna push it down so it's like compressed, but you just want a flat surface so the mushrooms have an even field to grow in. Otherwise it'll be uneven, you'll get different size mushrooms, and you don't really want that.
That's no good.
Now that you have your substrate and your grains in here, all you're gonna do is toss the lid on, and then you should start seeing more mycelium growth cover the whole top layer in about another 7 to 10 days. But it could take around 10 to 14 days for it to fully colonize before you're actually ready to start fruiting. When that happens, so you're gonna see a full white layer over the top, you're gonna take the second tub and sit it on top. You know, you could tape it down if you want to keep it a little more secure, but as long as you're not moving it around, it can just sit on top like that and it should be fine. You're gonna wanna make sure you have your hygrometer inside there as well, so you can monitor your humidity and your temperature. You always want your humidity to be up in like the 70s to 80s when it comes to mushrooms, and that's where this little spray bottle will come in. As you notice your humidity starts to go down, you can take the spray bottle and spray the sides of the tubs on the inside, and that way you have some moisture in there that the mushrooms can pool from and the substrate can pool from without spraying directly into the substrate and making it wet, which could cause mold.
Mold! Dangerous killer mold!
So within 5 to 10 days, you should see what's called pinning, which is basically the little tops of your mushrooms starting to come out of the substrate and grain mix. Once that happens, you're off to the races. So it's only gonna be 5 to 10 days after you initially start fruiting that you'll see the pinning start to happen. And then after that, the fruiting's gonna happen pretty quick. It could happen in a day, it could happen in a couple days.
It's happening. It's happening.
But once you start seeing the mushrooms fully grown, the caps are, you know, folded over, you wanna cut as close to the substrate as possible. We recommend to cut instead of pinching. You don't wanna go in there with, you know, gloves and just pinch the mushrooms out each one by one, because then you're kind of ruining the chance of any future growth.
You ruined it.
Because you can get multiple fruiting cycles out of one substrate. So if you go in with, say, like a scalpel, and you get real close to the substrate and you cut each mushroom off individually cleanly, with a kit this size, that could probably yield several ounces. So as long as you're doing everything right and everything is sterile, this is a very easy way to get into growing mushrooms yourself without investing in a full-blown monotub kit. Keep in mind that if you aren't sterile, you'll have problems pretty quickly. You can see mold develop. If you see anything like that, like green stuff starting to develop in the substrate, that's it. You know, you're kind of beat. You're just gonna have to start from scratch. That's how it goes.
You ruined my day.
And that's why it's so important to make sure you're always wearing the gloves, you're always wiping everything down inside and out with alcohol pads. You wanna wipe down the bags, you wanna wipe down the injection ports, you wanna wipe down your needle before you sterilize it. Make sure your hygrometer's wiped down before you put it in the tub. Everything needs to be as sterile as possible, otherwise the likelihood of developing mold or other issues is just that much higher. And as much as you can avoid that, you want to. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. We ran through what comes in the Mini Boomer Mushroom Grow Kit. You have your substrate, you have your grains, you have your spray bottle, you have your syringe and hygrometer, instructions, and your clean pack. And that's it. That's all you need to get started growing mushrooms.
Yeah, that doesn't look right.
Just make sure, again, that everything is as clean as possible. Make sure that you flame sterilize your needle. Make sure you sterilize the inside of your tubs. Make sure you break up your spawn grain after it's colonized before mixing it into your substrate. And make sure you just keep an eye on it. It can take a while in that first month while everything's colonizing to really see any growth, and it can be disheartening.
I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy.
But once you start to see it, you know, you'll feel a lot better, and another month after that, you'll have plenty of mushrooms. So just stick with it. If you have any questions, you can comment down below. If there's anything we missed discussing this, make sure you comment that as well. Please give us a like and subscribe if you learned anything from this video. If you want to grab the Mini Boomer kit, the link to that will be down below. We have a bunch of other mushroom stuff, as you can see here, on our website. And then we also sell all the grow gear you need for any other plant you're trying to grow. So again, I'm Travis, Cultivate, and I'll see you next time.